All right, welcome to the Healthcare Provider Orders Received by Fax and Email section of Unit 4 of the RIA MAP Manual. Fax and email orders are legal orders. It's preferred that fax and email orders are used instead of telehealth and telephone orders to prevent errors. Healthcare provider orders received by telehealth and telephone. Healthcare provider orders by telehealth and telephone are allowed. Telehealth orders are documentation of instructions given by a healthcare provider during a telehealth appointment. Telephone orders are documentation of instructions given by a healthcare provider over the telephone. The instructions may include a newly ordered medication, a change to an existing medication order, or a non-medication order such as begin monitoring a person's weight. Telephone orders are sometimes necessary. For example, blood work results may become available 3 hours after the healthcare provider appointment. Based off those results, a healthcare provider may determine a new medication or a medication change is needed. The healthcare provider will call you to get a telephone order for the new medication or give a medication change. When you take a telehealth or telephone order, you want to make sure you document the order word for word on a healthcare provider telehealth or telephone order form. There is a specific form that we should be using that MAP gives us a sample of, and that can be used right off the MAP website. Read back the information given to you by the healthcare provider to confirm you recorded it accurately. If you're having trouble understanding the healthcare provider, ask another staff to listen in as you take the order. Then have that staff read it back and sign the order too. That way, two eyes are better than one. If you do not know how to spell a spoken word, ask the healthcare provider to spell it. Draw lines through any blank spaces on the order form. If you are the staff that obtains the telehealth or telephone order, you should be the staff to also transcribe the order. This helps to make sure that the order is accurate. Make sure that the healthcare provider signs the original order within 72 hours. Staff may administer a medication while waiting for the signature for the first 72 hours. So this is like if somebody goes to the doctor, has a urine sample done, and the next day it comes back as positive for a UTI. The healthcare provider may call and give instructions to start an antibiotic, and we certainly could start that antibiotic, or need to start that antibiotic, I should say, right away. But not having it signed by the healthcare provider is fine up to that 72-hour mark. You want to provide the pharmacy contact to the healthcare provider, and this makes sure that the prescription goes to the right pharmacy. And you want to call the pharmacy to make sure that it was received. Any delay could certainly delay the start of that new medication. And you want to ask the pharmacy when the medication will be ready for pickup or when it will be delivered. Let them know that it is a new medication and needs to be started right away. Telehealth or telephone orders are posted and verified twice, and this you need to know. Okay, this is the one time that you're going to post and verify something twice. You first post and verify when the order is initially obtained. So you're going to be posting, which means transcribing onto the med sheet, and then a second staff is going to double check to make sure that the label, the order, and the med sheet all agree. But you're going to post and verify it again, and it could be two different staff, but it needs to be posted and verified again when the healthcare provider has signed the order and we have received it signed. And the reason for that is to ensure that the healthcare provider did not make any changes. And this has happened a number of times where a staff person receives a telephone order, and the antibiotic is going to be for 7 days, and we get it back, and the healthcare provider has crossed off 7 days and said 5 days. So it's not that you as the staff did anything wrong. Sometimes providers do make changes, especially if more information from testing comes out, or if there's an unlikely chance that they didn't need the antibiotic in the first place, then they may cut the order short and not have it for the full amount of time. Although MAP allows certified staff to take telephone or telehealth orders, some service providers do not. Ask your supervisor if the service provider you work for allows you to take telehealth or telephone orders. If so, ask where the telehealth orders are kept at your work location. So this is a sample. And yes, we do take telephone orders from time to time. It's definitely not preferred, but we do from time to time need to for the best interest of the person supported. And it's got this form here is one of the samples that MAP gives us, and it is located on the MAP website as a Word document. So it does require quite a bit of information that you would fill out prior to sending to the healthcare provider. So you would fill out all of this, and the idea is that you fill out everything, fax it to the doctor, or send it in my chart, or you could even drop it off at the office if it's right down the street, but it does need to be done as soon as possible. So you're going to fill this all out, and you're going to see on the telehealth or telephone order forms that there is going to be 2 sections for posted and verified. Now remember, posted and verifying should happen right away. If there's no second staff, you can still administer a dose of the medication, but it should always be verified by the second time that medication is given. And if that's a problem, you need to reach out to the site supervisor to make sure that there is somebody that can come in and verify the medication. The thought of that is that if you did make an error, you don't want to make the same error twice. So having somebody double check it ensures that everything was transcribed as ordered by the healthcare provider. So it should be posted and verified, obviously same day. And then you're going to have the healthcare provider signature. And then after the healthcare provider signs, and we receive it, it's going to be posted and verified again. So hopefully you don't need to retranscribe it. Hopefully there's no changes, but if there was a change, you would then strike out the original transcription of the order and rewrite it. You do not want to make any edits to what was originally transcribed. So you would be keeping those 2 forms together. You would keep the original that you faxed or sent via MyChart, and then you would be keeping the signed version together as one document. That document tells a story. So answer the following healthcare provider telehealth telephone medication order questions. Number 1, are MAP certified staff allowed to take telehealth telephone orders? Yes, it depends on the agency. However, MAP staff are allowed to do this, but it is up to the agency able to do it. What must you do to ensure that you've taken the telehealth telephone order correctly? So you need to ensure that you read back the order word for word back to the healthcare provider. Number 3, a telehealth telephone order must be signed by the healthcare provider within how many hours? 72 hours is the max. If you have not received it by the 72-hour mark, the medication must be discontinued and the healthcare provider notified that the medication needed to be discontinued because we did not receive it back signed. Sometimes this will cause them to act a little faster and get that over to us. May this medication be administered before the healthcare provider signs the order? Yes. We may begin the new medication as long as the label, the pharmacy label, matches our telehealth order form, and there's no question. Trusting a current supply of medication. Sometimes there's a healthcare provider order to change the dose or the frequency of a person's current medication. Under certain circumstances, it may be acceptable to exhaust or use up the current supply of medication. You must confirm with the MAP consultant that the current supply of the medication can be used with the new prescription. After confirming with the MAP consultant, you're going to document the discussion in a progress note. In addition, the medication must be in place. The following must be in place. A new healthcare provider order reflecting the change. So the medication block for the old order is marked discontinued on the medication sheet, and the new order is transcribed onto the medication sheet. The medication strength on hand allows for safe preparation. So an example of this happening would be if a medication such as, let's say, Paxil, you have a 10 milligram dose every day, and that 10 milligrams was increased to 20 milligrams. You could still use the 10 milligram capsules, but you would just give 2 of those to equal 20 milligrams. Or if the frequency is just changed from like morning to nighttime, and actually that happens a lot where certain medications are trialed in the morning, and maybe if that doesn't work out, they'll try it at night, especially if it causes sleepiness or other side effects that are unwanted, then they could switch the time of day. So you could still certainly use the current supply that you have in the house as long as it's approved by a MAP consultant. So the other thing that's needed is a change of direction sticker. So this is usually a brightly colored sticker that's used in place of a directions change sticker, and it's placed close to the label of the pharmacy label on the medication, but it cannot cover the label from the pharmacy. So you got to think about the pharmacy label being a legal document. So we can never write or change anything on a pharmacy prescription label that comes on the medication. So, because that is the documentation from the pharmacy, that is their legal documentation, we can't alter that. But we can put a directions change sticker close to the label so that when you're doing your checks, you'll notice that the directions may not add up correctly. For example, if somebody was taking Paxil 10 milligrams every morning and it was changed to night, the directions are not going to match up exactly. That directions check sticker takes the place and basically just says refer to the healthcare provider order. Finally, you need to know that, you need to know that a directions sticker can only be used for a maximum of 30 days. So what does that mean? It means that when the dose change or the frequency changes at that appointment or telehealth or whatever the matter may be, we need to tell the healthcare provider to send a new prescription with the new instructions to the pharmacy so that we do get the correct label within 30 days. So if you've got a 5-day supply left of the previous medication, we can certainly use that up. And then starting on day 6, we'll start using the new medication that came in with from the pharmacy with the correct instructions. So, and keep in mind, it can be very dangerous to have both in the house at the same time. So everybody needs to be on the same page. Are we, for example, if the dose is changing from 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams, we can give 2 of the 10 milligrams to equal the 20. And then when the pharmacy delivers the 20 milligrams, we do not want staff to inadvertently start giving the 20 milligram dose and continue to give 2 of the 10 milligram dose, which would then double the dose, and the person would be receiving 40 milligrams instead of 20 milligrams. So this could be very dangerous if the communication is not strong within the team. The current supply of medication must be disposed when it cannot be exhausted or used, or the new supply of the medication ordered by the healthcare provider is received from the pharmacy. And that will help prevent medication errors. And that is very important. So we do not want to have both in the house. But certainly if it helps the person start the medication sooner, and it makes sense, I wouldn't want to waste medication that I spent money on. I'll try to use it up as much as I can. We certainly don't want to have to waste large doses of medication, but it is the safest option for the person supported. So here you can see a picture of what the directions sticker looks like. And it doesn't cover the label from the pharmacy. Whoop, trying to zoom in here. So you just put the directions change, refer to the healthcare provider, and they come in a variety of different colors. Some are white with red lettering, some are orange and they're circular, some are red. So it just depends on what the pharmacy sends, but you can get these stickers from the pharmacy. You can order them by a roll of 100, and you want to make sure that these are on hand from in the home, just in case we need them. If you see the directions change sticker, a brightly colored sticker on a medication container, you're going to know that there is a new healthcare provider order. And that means the information on the new healthcare provider order and the information on the old pharmacy label will not agree until the new label is applied by the pharmacy. So again, within 30 days of receiving that healthcare provider order, you would need to have a new medication packaged by the pharmacy with the label change so that it's correct. So here we have a healthcare provider order, and this is for Tanisha Johnson. She had a recent increase in seizure activity. Her current meds are clonazepam and phenobarbital. Again, Sam Dowd is the staff person. The healthcare provider findings are seizure data reviewed reflects an increase of seizure activity. So they are discontinuing the current phenobarbital once daily in the evening and increasing the dose. So here we have 97.2 milligrams once daily in the evening. So she's going up in the dose. So the medication supplied from the pharmacy can be used to exhaust the current supply. So we are going to be no longer administering 2 tablets. So let's go back to this here, the phenobarb. Take 2 tablets once a day in the evening, which would have been the 64.8 milligrams. So if she receives 3 tablets, that'll be the 97.2. So we can use up what we have. And that very night, since we already have the medication in the home, if you have like a late day appointment, you're getting back to the house at 4 o'clock, it's very unlikely that the pharmacy will be able to get the medication to you before you give 8 p.m. meds. But she takes this in the evening. You've already got the 32.4 milligram tablets. You can give 3 of those. So you do need to discontinue the previous dose. So you would discontinue that on the med sheet. You would retranscribe it with the permission of a MAP consultant. And again, you can call the pharmacy for being the MAP consultant, or you could get permission from the healthcare provider at the appointment to give 3 of the tablets that are in the home. So the answer here is 3 tablets according to healthcare provider directions, and that would be what you'd administer every evening. So let's review. Preparation before a healthcare provider visit helps ensure a successful appointment. During a healthcare provider appointment, you're going to make sure that the person participates in the appointment and or you're advocating for them as needed. You obtain new healthcare provider orders that include the 5 rights of medication administration, are signed and dated by the healthcare provider. Electronic healthcare provider signatures are acceptable, and they need to agree with the prescriptions. So that means what the healthcare provider writes on the order sheet must match what they're sending to the pharmacy. And this can become an issue where somebody goes to urgent care for a rash and they write an order that's very specific, and they say apply to rash and groin twice a day for 10 days. But then they send a script to the pharmacy that says use as directed. No, that's not going to cut it. The directions need to say exactly what they wrote for the specific instructions. Okay. So a lot of times, believe it or not, we need to tell the healthcare provider that it needs to match the instructions exactly. So you may need to speak up, because I know I have had to do it probably 1,000 times. If a prescription is obtained, you want to make sure that the healthcare provider sent new prescriptions or refill requests to the correct pharmacy. So double check, because, there are times that we can use a local pharmacy, especially for something of an urgent nature, or somebody has conjunctivitis and you want to get that eye ointment into them right away. We can certainly use a local pharmacy, but for most things, it should be going to the agent, the pharmacy that the agency uses when at all possible. So you want to double check and make sure which pharmacy they're going to be sending that script to, or clarify before they send that script. And after the appointment, make sure medications are obtained from the pharmacy. So you still have that responsibility of following up with making sure that the medication is obtained. If you're not MAP certified, somebody who is MAP certified needs to get that medication, but that is something that you as the staff need to translate to the team that needs to be done. If a person attends a healthcare provider visit without your help and does not bring back any new valid orders or prescriptions, it is your responsibility to obtain them. So be sure you're following up and making sure. Just because somebody is 100% on their own and independent does not mean that we don't need to oversee them. If they are living in a MAP home, which this is applying to a MAP home, then that person needs that follow-up to ensure that we have everything that we need to make sure that we're compliant with MAP. Prescriptions can be used in place of a healthcare provider order. I just want to err on the side of caution that you need to remember that if you're using a healthcare provider order, it's fine to use for a new script, but it does not automatically discontinue a previous order. So we may need a discontinuation order signed by a healthcare provider. Changes are communicated to all staff involved in the person's care. So after an appointment, super important that you're writing that progress note thereup, and also making an alert to the team if there's any new medications. So that is a MAP policy. Basic information needed for emergency room visit, urgent care, and or hospital admission needs to be written. Reason for the visit, current medication list, insurance card, and healthcare encounter form must all be insured for all visits. Medication reconciliation before a hospital discharge is required. Must be completed before the person leaves the hospital. This is key, something I want you to remember for your MAP exam. Fax and email orders are preferred instead of telehealth and telephone orders. Telehealth and telephone orders must be posted and verified twice, may be administered without a healthcare provider signature for 72 hours. So if you're taking that telephone order, you need to make sure that that is signed within 72 hours. So while you're on the phone with the healthcare provider, ensure that they know that we need it back within 72 hours or the medication must be stopped. A current supply of medications may be exhausted or used if the strength of the tablet allows for safe preparation. And that is all for Unit 4. Thank you for listening and have a great day.